Dear audience, dear ladies and gentlemen, today we are happy to welcome the chairman of the management board from AAMPACT, Mr. Thomas Fischer. Hello, Thomas.
Hi, Marcus.
Hope you feel fine.
Absolutely fine. Thanks a lot for inviting me.
Nice to have you here. And I would like to start with the first question already. And it's for sure we would like to explain what's all about AAMPACT. Can you please give us an idea what it stands for, and can you please give us a deeper look inside of AAMPACT?
So the name is quite strange. It's AAMPACT. AA means AAMPACT for Automotive Aftermarket Manufacturers. And we are an association of 53 manufacturers of car parts who are involved, focused mainly in the independent aftermarket. And our former name has been FREI. It stands for Verein Freier Ersatzteilermarkt, which was much too German. And so we decided to choose to an English name called AAMPACT, Automotive Aftermarket Manufacturers.
So if I got it right, it's really an institution of different manufacturers from parts for the independent aftermarket, or even also for the OE market, right?
Yeah, no, that's an important criteria for us. So if you see all other associations of manufacturers, they are mainly vehicle manufacturers driven, like the VDA or ASEA or others. And there is a European association called CLEPA. It's for the European automotive manufacturers or car part manufacturers, but they are mainly automotive suppliers. And not all of them are related to the independent aftermarket. And our 53 member companies are all supplying the vehicle manufacturers in OE or OES, and on the other side as well in the independent aftermarket under their own brand.
Okay. And this means that this secures the quality of the parts also for the independent market.
Yeah, it's a homogeneity in this case, because I think suppliers who are as well with car manufacturers and vehicle manufacturers in business, as also in the independent aftermarket, they have special interests there. And you have a lot of suppliers who only do automotive supply, but no aftermarket. And you have others, they do independent aftermarket, but for whatever reasons, they are not supplying the vehicle manufacturers.
Okay, quite interesting. Thank you very much for this deep look inside of AAMPACT. And so, dear audience, if you have still questions, please do not hesitate to ask me, or even directly Thomas Fischer, the chairman of the board of AAMPACT, what is all about AAMPACT. What I've learned also that you have founded a group called NAAG. So what I've understood out of this is a new automotive aftermarket generation, a subgroup of AAMPACT. And would you please tell us more about the goals of NAAG group and what is behind this young professional group?
That's a very true story. So NAAG, or NAG as some say, or New Automotive Aftermarket, right, that you got the name right there. New Automotive Aftermarket Generation. It's quite simple. It's not really a subgroup. It's a very important working group in AAMPACT from young, international, well-educated people who are probably the next generation of aftermarket managers. And they, with fresh mind and fantastic ideas, they look at certain challenges for the future in the automotive aftermarket, and then they come to us, older managers, with their partly brilliant ideas. And it's very interesting to have this exchange there. And it's a fantastic group of, it's currently 25 people out of 18 companies from all over the world, but member companies from us. And they did really a great job.
Okay, I see. Is there a certain kind of criteria that they should age not more than 30 years or something else? Or what is behind this NAAG group? How is it possible to become a member of this?
To become a member is very easy. It's just raise your hand and be, let's say, employed at an AAMPACT member company. But no, you have to be international. You have to be open-minded. You have to be interested in independent aftermarket. Mm-hmm. And you have to be willing to be engaged there and to work with the other colleagues there on these challenging topics. By the way, this year we decided to go for as a major topic for sustainability, which is also a wide range, a very interesting topic.
Yeah, a very interesting topic. Everyone is looking for sustainability, but I have to say from my own experiences, we have to do even more. It's now also from the distribution side, a topic which is coming up for Fischer, and we are acting hopefully in the same direction to support this entire idea. And if I got this information from NAAG, then it's obvious to raise the following question. If we talk about talents for AA, hopefully you have already heard of this new initiative that would be AAMPACT's possibilities to support these talents for AA initiative, which has been founded to attract talents for the automotive aftermarket, such as mechanics or even manager and business people and so on. So that is really an initiative founded by part manufacturers, by distributors, or even guys already doing journalism issues, also international wide. So do you see a possibility that AAMPACT or even NAAG could support this idea of talents for AA?
That's a big question. Let me start with the first point. Yes, I've heard about talents for independent aftermarket or automotive aftermarket.
Right.
We also had a presentation from this group there, from a member, because Günther Weber from Bosch is there in the board, and he presented it on our last AAMPACT general meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a fantastic idea. It's a very, very important topic to get the next generation, to get young, well-educated people interested in the independent aftermarket on all levels.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other hand, I'm seeing that a lot of associations already, whether it's CLEPA, whether it's NAAG with us, whether it's the GVA in Germany, Fischer member with his Juniorenarbeitskreis or juniors, all buying groups have their next generation in the start. So I really hope that talents for automotive aftermarket is not just an additional association who wants to get the money there from everybody, but that they really get to coordinate the things and bring together from all the other associations what they already do with young people to attract them for the independent aftermarket. And if you go on the mechanic level then, as example, there are so many things going on with Schrauberblock and other associations who do this with ZTK, called in Germany Was mit Autos as example, and I'm sure there are also many initiatives in other countries. So it's a very, very big challenge for talents for automotive aftermarket to coordinate there and to see what's already there and not to try to invent the wheel the next time.
Yeah, thank you for this very open and clear answer. And I can assure you, because I'm also a founding member of this initiative, that is not an initiative just to collect money. Because this money that we are collecting today is really invested in big marketing issues, because that is exactly that what we would like to do. We would like to combine, hopefully in the future, all these different partly initiatives in every single corner of the independent aftermarket world, and we have therefore get the idea that we should cut the I, so independent. So we are asking for the automotive aftermarket idea, because we have a lack of talents everywhere, not only in the independent aftermarket, also for the OES garages and so on. And we have to be open, and we have to invite all the people who are interested in, and hopefully bring things together that are currently already on the way, like NAAG. And there's the question for me is obvious, that already those guys who have a real high position in their young age as the NAAG managers, if they already can support this idea of talents for AA as sponsors. Yeah, so that we have to work this out in the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can
I fully
agree on
agree.
this.
And I know, Marcus, that you know the industry as well as you know the trade in your role there, and I'm very sure the important thing is that we have to coordinate and to collaborate, and whatever AAMPACT can support on this initiative for the major goal we have to get the right people working for the independent aftermarket. And just saying this, I mean, to attract people for Porsche or for Audi or for BMW is one thing, but to attract people for the independent aftermarket, who is really not that visible in the awareness of the consumer or car driver, that's the important point. And I'm very sure we have thousands of very, very interesting jobs in our area, in all levels there. And it's a very fantastic field for young, talented people. And there our NAAG people could be excellent role models. And they could also say why they like to work in the independent aftermarket. So AAMPACT is willing to support this as good as we can, of course.
Okay, thank you for this, Thomas. Really looking forward to further meetings to organize something that we can go forward then in a combined situation then. Okay, so let's go to the another topic. If we talk about consolidation, the big word of consolidation, since years we are faced on ongoing consolidations of the market, which has even taken place within the pandemic situation within the last 2 years. How do you see these developments? Is it necessary and obvious, or do you see any disadvantages of these consolidations, industry-wise, but also on the distribution level?
If you see it industry-wise, it's quite simple. So the bigger the customer is, the higher is the demand on one hand, on the higher the requirements on prices, discounts, and everything. So of course there are also some disadvantages, but I think it's a logical consequence. So size matters, and the development in the market that you have even much more to supply to the consumer or to the garage or to your customer than only parts. You have to add services and all the things on that costs money. That's a real value. And therefore you need a certain size, a company size. And you also have to internationalize. So you have to see it's not only one market where you live in, so the bigger companies are going international. And therefore I think it's a logical consequence. And in this competition, of course, there are also some companies who are not able to survive. And so is the market consolidating for years. And this trend didn't stop the last 30 years, and it's not going to stop the next 30 years, I'm afraid.
Yeah. There is a question. Should we be afraid about this, or is it even an advantage for our market? So you have correctly mentioned that some of the companies will not survive. And if they are not survive, maybe they have not done the accurate job within the last years, and therefore they do not survive. Or do you see it within another kind of view?
Yeah, I think it's maybe made wrong decisions, maybe were in the wrong structure, maybe had not developed far enough new services, things like that. It might have thousands of reasons why they don't survive. But of course, the competition in our market has increased year by year, and this tendency is not going to stop.
Yeah, I can confirm that. So let's talk about the next big topic, e-commerce. For some of us, or for some of the independent aftermarket, it's a scarifying word, e-commerce. If we talk about distributors, but also from the supplier manufacturer side perspective. You as an industry representative today, how do you see the importance of e-commerce today and in the, let me say, 5 to 10 years perspective?
So the perspective is quite difficult, but in terms of e-commerce, there is no reason to be scary. It's a new channel that developed over the years. It's there, and a certain number of customers, car drivers, do-it-yourselfers, garages or whatever, like to buy parts online. That's how it is. There are people who like to order menus online or drinks online or whatever, and others like to be in a restaurant. And what we always have to see in the market is that there are two different kind of customers. One is more a digital customer, e-commerce oriented, and the other customer is more service oriented. And a garage who does a good service and a wholesaler who offers a good service to his customers should be aware, as well as his customers, that service costs money. And then I think it's no issue to be scared about e-commerce. It's a completely different offer of service than the traditional car repair or the work of a wholesaler towards his garage customers.
And if we add to this topic the big word of cybersecurity products, that means products which are today not possible for an independent garage. You can fit it, but you cannot really link it to the car because you are not allowed to. Do you see, if we talk about e-commerce, that for the e-commerce platforms, it will be much more complicated in the future to solve these kind of problems? Or is there any topic where there's an advantage for the, let me say, standard distribution level?
Yeah, I think as long as the e-commerce, in this case dealers, do not fit the product in the car, they don't need these software skills to mount it. In terms of the independent garages who do this, we as manufacturers, as well as all other associations for suppliers, are fighting heavily to have a fair competition, the same with Fischer together with the trade, that we want to have a fair functioning competition between the vehicle manufacturers and the independent aftermarket. But that's another topic. I think in e-commerce, no, it's just selling the part, getting the money for the e-commerce players. Of course, they will also come with additional services like mounting instructions, things like that. And the other thing is the fantastic offer that the traditional wholesalers gives to his garage customers, including sales support, including marketing support. It's even, in many cases, more services they are brought to the garages than just parts and components. And so therefore, I think it's a different product offer. But as AAMPACT has done 3 big European surveys regarding e-commerce, we ended up with around 10 to 15% market share on e-commerce. That maybe will grow in the next years, maybe up to 20%. But however, there will ever be a majority of car drivers who go to a garage, who want a service, who want to somebody they can trust on. And therefore, I think we have to live with e-commerce and we have to make our service visible to the consumer and to the car driver so that he is willing to pay for the service. If I go to a good restaurant, I'm not only paying for the material there, for the meat or whatever, I'm paying for the menu, cooked and celebrated by professionals. And that's a bit the comparison I would go for a good car service with complete service as well.
I have paint a very nice picture here. I think it's very clear and understandable. So to summarize your speech, no need to worry for the distribution level, for the standard distribution level, because the e-commerce is there and it is going to stay, but they will not take over the entire market. So we can summarize it like this.
Yeah, but the traditional trade, let me say this as well, the traditional trade, the wholesalers, the salespeople, they have to be able and they have to be convinced that they have to sell their service as well. It's not a comparison between a part online and a part from us. We have to make clear to the customer that we offer a service and that this service costs money. And it's a complete package. I sell the part and the service, and then I can't be compared only with the part from a different salesman. Maybe we need also, but that's all different discussion then, maybe we need also different discount models forever, including parts and service. Some wholesalers say already service has to be priced separately so that the consumer, the customer sees what it's worth.
Yeah, very, very interesting topic. I think we can talk about this topic 1 hour in addition more. But we have a last question to our discussion round today. Let's talk about the current situation for our parts manufacturer. The 2 last years of the pandemic combined with today's war in Europe has faced the parts manufacturers with dramatic challenges. What can you tell our audience about the current situation? Is there a major issue, a major problem if we talk about the services, the delivery services towards our independent garages?
I don't think so. I think it's a bit. Of course, we have some shortages on certain parts there, but that's not a general issue because the parts sold in the independent aftermarket are mostly different to the parts in terms of types, not on quality, but in terms of the part itself to the independent aftermarket. In the independent aftermarket, we are selling parts for cars 4 years and older, even up to 20 years. And if you sell to the car manufacturers, it's always for the production of the car, so it's a very, very current part. It's not the same there. But of course, yeah, there are certain shortages, and the suppliers itself, they are faced with dramatic changes. Yeah, we have the whole trend, the whole change in terms of the technique of the cars in electromobility versus the combustion engines. We have then started 2 years ago with COVID-19, with shortages, with shutdowns. We had then the container shortages. We had the freight cost that imploded. Then we have the shortages of semiconductors, and that's terrible. And if you see, for the time being now, the car manufacturer, the production rates going down. As far as I know, the first quarter of 2022 in Europe, we had 10% less car production than the years before in the first quarter this year. So already 2021 was less than 2020. So you have the car manufacturers who can't produce cars due to semiconductor shortages. The suppliers can't supply parts, so even if you're not supplier of semiconductors, nobody needs your steering part if the car can't be produced. So therefore the car manufacturers stop orders at suppliers, but the supply of material continues. So their suppliers currently are in a very, very difficult situation and are not happy at all in this case.
You're right, but please let me add also the topic. If we talk about the production in Asia, so we have learned within the last 2 years that in China there have been energy shortages. They have to bring down the production to just 20% of normality, and that has also faced our industry with big problems. If we talk about the deliveries towards our garages, just take brake pads or brake shoes and so on. All these parts which are manufactured there within big amounts. And I ask myself the question, do we have seen in our market any learnings about this situation? Or let me specify my question. A partial backshoring to the point of sales, wouldn't that be the right answer to the lack of goods we are faced with? Really to bring back these production lines, not totally, but partly, let me say, to Europe. Because for these cars which are produced here, we do need, from my personal point of view, the production here and not in Far East.
Yeah, you're in this case, you're probably absolutely right on one hand. On the other hand, it's also a question we could talk about 1, 2, or even 3 hours, because it's very different from supplier to supplier. So where you have your factories, where you have your customers, where you have to produce to be cost effective, because you know that also the vehicle manufacturers have an enormous cost pressure on their suppliers in terms of, let's say, being cost efficient there also in production, and to change it to another production place or to get back the production into Europe is one thing I'm sure that everybody is considering. But the final decision then is depending on the individual manufacturer or car part manufacturer. That's nothing you can say in general. But
that's clear.
Yeah, of course, shorter ways are even better. But on the other hand, you have to be also price competitive, and take it with the agricultural things there. Everybody says bio is fantastic.
Yep.
But if it goes to pay for bio, then not all consumers are buying these kind of goods.
That's right. Yeah, but I think it's our task really to motivate one or the other parts manufacturer really to think about this topic, because it's desperately needed. And I personally see really even bigger problems coming up to our market if there's no reaction about the learnings from the past 3 years. Yeah? And that not every single one is able to do this. Without a doubt, it's the case. But we should work on this within our different platforms in Brussels, with Fischer, with Kleber, with AAMPACT, hand in hand together. And I think that it's also a good word for the end of this discussion round, which I really appreciated with Thomas Fischer, the chairman of the management board of AAMPACT. So Thomas, thank you for your time. It's been a real pleasure to have you here. hope you will come back and we can talk about other topics in the future again.
Yeah. Thank you and all the best for you at Global One.